What's up, guys? It's Wrestle Wellbeing here, and I'm your host, Jim. Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Unseen Battles, where we dive into our guest journey into professional wrestling. But not only that, we're also diving into their battles, their struggles, and hopefully their triumphs with mental health. Before we get into today's guest, I'm going to talk about the Hot Tag Foundation. For those of you that have been here before, you know what I'm going to say. For those of you that are here for the first time, make sure you give us a follow on our Instagram page. Make sure you give us a subscribe on the channel. Make sure that you give this video a like, share it with your friends as well. I see that on our analytics that 63% of our listeners aren't subscribed to us. Come on, guys. Let's get subscribed to the channel. Spread more word about mental health. So, the Hot Tag Foundation. It is a non-profit organisation based here in the UK that aims to share wrestling with children across Britain, particularly those in need. The way that the Hot Tag Foundation does this is by collecting donations of wrestling items such as toys, merchandise and other wrestling-related goods, personalising and packaging the donations and distributing these to children and young people. They usually do this around the seasonal holidays such as Christmas and things like that, and also events. I believe that Kingdom Wrestling is on about doing a event with the Hot Tag Foundation. So, in essence, the Hot Tag Foundation leverages the appeal of professional wrestling to bring joy and a sense of real-life superheroes to young children, especially those facing challenging circumstances. I've got a quick video here, guys. It also has a couple of QR codes that are links to the various professional wrestling organizations up and down the UK. So make sure you go check those guys out, but make sure you check out the rest of this video first. It's going to be an absolute barnstormer. So I'll see you in 2 minutes, guys. Ready for So there you are, guys. That is the Hot Tag Foundation, along with all the various wrestling companies up and down the UK. Now, let's get into today's episode of The Unseen Battles. I'm joined by one of the brightest young prospects of the UK wrestling scene, joined by the flower of British wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Skylar Rose. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. How are you?
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, Sky, and I'm absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. So, Sky, I've been trying to get you on for quite a while. Obviously, I had you on earlier this month, or I believe it was last month, but we had to reschedule. Hoping everything's okay. How's things so far?
Yeah, things have been okay. Yeah, things have been going well.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic. So obviously, for those of you that haven't been here before, I'll let you know how this works. So we're going to obviously dive into Sky's journey into professional wrestling, find out how she got into it, find out how things are going so far, obviously with the training and things like that. And then got some Instagram questions as well. If you've got any more questions, guys, make sure you pop them down in the comments below and we'll try and get to them time depending. And then a bit later on is when we get into the deep side of things with mental health questions. Obviously, if anyone that is watching does struggle with mental health, make sure you check out the description below because I've put some links in there that for some organizations that help with mental health and also addiction as well. And if you look just above my head, the QR code just there is a link to our very own Skylar Rose's Instagram page. So make sure you go check Skylar out if you don't know who Skylar is for some reason, whatever. But yeah, let's just kick off with a question, Sky. What initially drew you to professional wrestling? Is it something you've wanted to do ever since you were a kid, or is it something that you later discovered in life?
So I discovered it when I was about 15, 16, I think. I was watching over my brother's shoulder. And I kind of got into it. My brother was watching The Shield, and immediately I was like, "Ooh, they're interesting." And ever since then, I just kind of was in and out of it for a bit, and then I started training when I was about 18, I think. But yeah, I first got into it very, very late, and I often feel bad that I didn't get into it like when I was younger, because everyone else, it's been with them for pretty much their entire life, and I was like, oh, I didn't get into it until I was 16, 17. So yeah, it was a late developer for me.
It's fantastic. So when you first started getting into wrestling, who would you say the top wrestlers were that you'd watch who sort of inspired you?
The Shield, no surprise. The Shield, Bray Wyatt. I loved Alexa Bliss. I still do love Alexa Bliss. Oh god, there were so many. Anyone with like a very strong character. R-Truth. R-Truth. I love R-Truth. R-Truth's great, hilarious, very funny. Yeah, there were so many people, but I'd say probably one of the biggest inspirations is Eddie Kingston, and that's someone who I talk about quite a lot, and yeah, he inspires me quite a lot.
Okay, fantastic. So, can you describe your first training experience and what it was like stepping into the ring? Obviously, being trained by Leon Slater.
So I started before that. I started about 4 years ago, and I started at Future Shock. And I remember being so very nervous, like so nervous that somebody had to physically walk me in the door, and they were like, "You'll be okay, you'll be okay." And I was like, "I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it." And then obviously once I got in and started getting involved, it was absolutely fine. But the first experience was I can't do it, and then I ended up getting dragged in, and uh, here we are. So yeah, it's definitely one of them where it takes me a while to build up the confidence. Like I noticed even coming back, because I took a break from wrestling for various different reasons, but I took a break and then come back. And then I started up at New Wave West Midlands. But even then, I'd be sort of pacing outside, too nervous to go in. And then when I did start with Leon Slater, and everyone at PPW, again, I'd still pace outside, and sometimes I'd have to text Liam and be like, "Hey, I can't walk in," and he'd walk me in. Now, obviously, I'm a lot more confident than that, but yeah, when I was first sort of getting into things and when I came back from things, there was still a lot of nervousness.
Definitely, definitely. So, I've got a couple of comments already. You're very popular wrestler today, Sky. So, got Magica Wrestling comment from Liam, who says, "What an inspiration."
Thank you.
So, also got a frequent commenter of the channel, Louise, who says, "A future star in British wrestling."
Oh, thank you.
So, when you see comments like that from fans, what goes through your head?
That's actually very interesting because there's a part of my brain that's like unsure because like I've always got a very big level of self-doubt. Liam would definitely tell you that like my levels of self-doubt is quite high. Like I doubt myself on most things, and I don't have a lot of confidence, but I'm trying to find my feet with it and trying to sort of find my confidence. It's a work in progress, but we are getting there slowly. I'm starting to be a bit more confident in the fact that like, hey, where I was like 2-3 years ago when I couldn't walk in the door, like we've come massive amounts of ways. So it's just a case of believing in myself, and that's really hard, really, really hard to do. Yeah.
Definitely. So obviously, when announced the episode, the video that I used was a quote that you said, which is, "When you think of doubt, what do you think of?" What was the sort of like the inspiration behind that quote?
So I've dealt with a lot of people doubting me from like, this is very hard to explain, but like people thinking and saying that I'm too small and that like, hey, maybe wrestling's not for you. Maybe you should stay in the crowd as a fan. And I used, I think, all three of those in that promo video where I was like, hey, I'm dealing with these doubters and I'm still here and I'm still going to prove you wrong each and every time I step foot in the ring. And honestly, like, I do love getting to prove the doubters wrong. I know that that probably sounds a bit weird, but every time I can do something that I'm like, hey, you all didn't think that I could do this, and now look at me. It does give me a little bit of satisfaction. I can't lie. But yeah, it's a lot of like the doubters can be loud at times, but I've got a lot more positivity than I have negativity. Like a lot of the people who interact with me are very positive, and the positivity that I get coming through on a regular basis is far, far outweighs the amount of negative comments that I get. And, you know, that's what I'm focusing on.
Absolutely fantastic. So, got a comment here from Sledbro who says, Skylar Rose is the greatest wrestler in the UK right now. Future world champion for sure. I'm honored to be called her friend. 2026 is going to be the year of the Rose.
Absolutely is.
What does that kind of comment do for your confidence? And does it like give you that push that you are good enough?
It definitely tries to makes my the positive enforcement noise a bit better than the negative, because the negative voice is quite loud, but the more I see like and I hear the positive stuff, the more it's kind of like starting to sink in a bit more now, and I'm like, okay, they can't all be lying. That's that's one way of looking at it. They can't all be like, you know, they can't all be wrong. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously you haven't been wrestling for very long. I think it has been, is it about 2 years, 3 years, something like
2
that?
years. Yeah, 2
2 years.
years.
So, but in your career so far, what's been the most memorable moments or matches that you've had?
Well, I've got to say, me versus Alfie, that was by far one of my favourite matches I've had, and hopefully we get to run that back at some point. Uh, Me and Liam was obviously a big one because that was my debut, and I remember just how nervous I was before that. All the work that went up to building towards that, the stress levels. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. uh, and then me versus Callum Andrews, that was another great match. So yeah, those are three very memorable moments. And yeah, I'm just forever grateful for everyone at PPW, and you know, the support system that we have there is just incredible. I wouldn't be where I am today without Liam, Leon, Lycos, who nearly said his real name, and so many like people, Alfie, like there's so many people. I will be here until about midnight if I try to thank them all. But yeah, Alfie is incredibly special. incredibly special. And I'm forever grateful for her for helping me when I am this new into my career. So, yeah.
Definitely. Massive shout out to PPW, massive shout out to Liam and Leon Slater, and also big shout out to Alfie, a very good friend of the channel. So myself and Liam from Magical Wrestling, we've both had Alfie in our channels, and she's just something different. She's sort of like an enigma. What is she like to train with, and what's she like to wrestle in the ring?
Oh, she's absolutely incredible. Like, I can't describe it, but it's just the best time. Like, I love training with Alfie. I learn so much. I have so much fun. And we've both got good characters. So when we're playing off of each other, it's so much fun. I really enjoy working with Alfie. And I hope that I can do it more and more and more because she's just the best. I absolutely love Alfie.
I think we all agree with that one. And what's it like working with Dee Dee? Do you have to be very careful around Dee Dee?
Dee Dee's difficult. Now, before Dee Dee comes after me, I know I stole her hair, I stole the hair, I know. But, I mean, Dee Dee did cause me a bit of trouble when I first fought Alfie. So maybe it might be me versus Dee Dee coming up. Who knows? Who knows? Anything's possible.
Absolutely, anything's possible. We try not to badmouth Dee Dee too much because the last time that myself and Liam did a watch along of one of Alfie's matches, Dee Dee ended up getting kicked by one of the competitors, and the stream corrupted. So we try to be as nice to Dee Dee as we can.
Oh dear.
So obviously, Sky, how do you prepare for such a big matches, both physically and mentally?
Physically training, like just training as much as I can in the gym, wrestling, just anything that you can to kind of get as physically ready, I guess. But in terms of mentally, that's a different battle for me entirely. Sometimes I am very, 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 very nervous. Like for the debut for me versus Liam, I was incredibly nervous. I don't think I certainly didn't sleep very well the night before. I kept trying to remember things, and then I'm like, right, okay, I don't want to let the coach down, because it's a lot of pressure, but it was pressure for me more than it was for I don't know how to describe this. I don't think if the match had have gone really wrong, I don't think anyone would have felt let down per se, but it was me who was like, I must make sure that I get through this match because I didn't want Liam to think that I wasn't ready, and there's no way that Liam would have put me in that match if I wasn't ready, but it was just the nervousness and the doubt, and that was something that really made me oh, I'm not sure, or I'm not sure. And there was many conversations where we had where it was I'm not sure, and Liam was like, you're okay. And even right before I went out the curtain, I remember this vividly. Liam was like, are you ready? And I was like, nope. He's like, see you out there. I was like, okay. And then, yeah, that was such a crazy day. Now the nerves are obviously nowhere near as intense as that. They're still there, but they're nowhere near as intense. And I've started to find better ways of dealing with it in terms of listening to music and trying to music is therapy. That probably sounds weird, but music is a way for me to decompress. If I'm ever stressed out, anxious, worked up, whatever, normally there's a song or a playlist that I can put on and I'll be okay. So yeah, music's a big thing for me, and that's how I've kind of learned to be hey, breathe. I have a specific show day playlist. If I'm on a show and I know I've got a show, I have a specific playlist, and that normally gets me in the mindset of okay, what would Skylar Rose do, etc., etc. And it's weird how simple things even just putting the jacket on. I don't even have to have the gear on. If I put the jacket on, I'm in the mindset of what would Skylar Rose do? Crazy, absolutely crazy.
Definitely. So what's your go-to with music? What's like your top three?
I listen to Slipknot quite a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Slipknot and Linkin Park is probably a very, very close second. And I'm gonna throw a curveball into the mix here because my playlist varies massively. Like 1 minute I could be crying, the next minute I'll be dancing. Like it's absolutely wild. But my curveball is Ollie Murs, so there you are. Went to his concert on my own in Newcastle, I think it was. And yeah, what an experience. But Slipknot and Linkin Park are two bands that I want to see like in person for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't fault you there. Two of my favorite bands of all time. So yeah, a lot of respect to you there, Sky. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced so far in your career aside from mental health?
Oh, aside from mental health, I think this kind of counts as mental health, but I'm gonna kind of count it anyway. Comparing myself, like on body image issues, there's a lot of that. I don't know if that counts as mental health, but it kind of answers the biggest things that I struggle with. Comparing myself and body image struggles is something that like I really, really struggle with. But yeah, those are the main two that I'm like that I really, really struggle with.
Yeah. Got a comment here from Angie.
Look at her tweet. Ah, hey Angie, I hope you're well.
Thank you so much for joining us, Angie. Hope you're doing well. If you've got a question for Sky, drop it in the comments below. So, Sky, we're going to go on to the Instagram questions.
Okay.
Now, these questions came in at a rapid fire pace. As soon as I put your post up, this was, I think, about 3 seconds after I put this
Wow.
up. So we've got we've got a few from our mutual friends, Mr. Steve Grimshaw, the referee. Got a few from my very first guest on the channel, Miss Drew Ashlin, very good friend. And then we've got a few from Liam from Magical Wrestling as well. So Steve's first question is a death match still a goal?
Absolutely. I don't know who I want it to be with. In fact, I've got like a couple of people in mind. I wouldn't mind doing one with Alfie. Yeah, me and Alfie, I reckon we could have a lot of fun. And I think I do still want one, but I'm not sure who with. Maybe Clint as well. Maybe for Drew. Yeah, maybe Drew Parker as well. Although I'm not sure how I feel about darts, so maybe we'll circle back to that one. But yeah, deathmatch is definitely still on the cards. But yeah, Alfie is definitely someone who I'd love to experiment that with as well at some point for sure.
Definitely. To be honest, I expected you to say Didi.
Me versus Didi in a deathmatch. Absolutely. I'm adding that to my bucket list right now.
That could be a WrestleMania main event, that.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Got a question from Sledgebro, who says, do you still want to fight Lou Knox?
Lou Nixon. I can't wait for the day that me and Lou Nixon meet again. Absolutely. Like, I'm down for anyone and everyone. All challenges are welcome. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. I think. Maybe. But we'll test that theory and find out. I'll come back to that one. We'll circle back to that once that happens.
Definitely. Question from Angie. They're coming in quick and fast, these questions, so we'll try and get to them as quick as we can. So Angie asks, what motivates you to keep going and keep training?
Oh, that's actually difficult because sometimes there is a very little lack of motivation. And sometimes it is really difficult, I'm not gonna lie, because yeah, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I'm not sure if I can do it. But I think it's the support network, having good people around you to check in and to make sure that you're okay. Having a support network is so vital, like so vital. Me and Alfie, we check in on each other on a regular basis, and without that, I don't know where I would be. But yeah, having a support network and also just it is hard, but sometimes you've got to push through. Even like if you're sad, if you're angry, if you're upset, it's very difficult. But sometimes just showing up gets you more motivated to start and to do it. So yeah, that's what I say. Showing up's the hardest part, but it's also definitely worth doing.
Definitely fantastic advice, this guy. And Liam from Magical Wrestling has actually said that Lou Nixon is on his show very soon. He's going to put in a good word for you, so hopefully we'll get that match for you.
Thank you.
So on to Steve's next question. What does your meals look like on a match day compared to regular days?
Cool. Now this is a difficult question to answer for a lot of different reasons. Mm-mm. Bear with me on this one. We'll circle back to that one.
No worries. How has attending some referee training sessions helped you?
So, wow, yeah, I remember attending referee training, being very, very nervous for that as well. Refereeing really helps you be aware of your surroundings, not only as a referee, but as a wrestler too. And knowing to be able to use, I don't want this to sound bad, to use your referees as like a guidance point, to not be afraid to be like, hey, I've done this in a couple of matches. I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit too much here, I think. But I've done this in a couple of matches where I've been like, hey, I've got no idea where I am. And they will find out and tell me where I am. And I'm like, right, okay, now I'm back on track. Yeah, I don't know if that's the best thing to admit on a camera, but I'm sure it happens to a lot of other wrestlers, maybe, hopefully, where sometimes we get a little bit lost. And yeah, the referees are just incredible. Like, it's such an underrated job. And like, I don't think referees get enough praise because they keep us safe. They look out for us. They're there for us. It's such a big job. It's not just counting to three as some people think it might be. It's not just counting to three. There's a lot that goes into it. And that was one of the first things I realized when I started referee training, is that there's a lot more that goes into this than just being able to count to 3, to 5, and to 10. There's a lot that goes into it.
Definitely. Yeah, massive shout out to all the referees that are watching this. Angie's just put another comment in saying the PPW family is the best I've been welcomed to. Great answer. So, and yeah, you can't really fault him with it. Liam from Magical Wrestling asks, has Lee gave you tips for refs?
Lee has been quite good in terms of asking for help. When I was doing referee training, so I started that at Future Shock, and then I did start doing it at PPW. I have taken a back step from that at the moment because I'm obviously trying to focus a bit more on wrestling. But Lee was very fundamental in the fact of me getting videos and then me sending them to him, and he'd send feedback. So it was very, very. I'm very grateful for Lee, for referee James Greenwood, for all the referees really, but those two in particular, because when I was doing referee training, those two were the two that I would go to for advice and tips. And got to give a shout out to referee Katie as well, because she refereed me versus Alfie, and that is another reason why it's one of my favourite matches. Yeah.
Definitely, three of the most talented people in the wrestling in UK wrestling to date. Final question from Steve before we move on to the other Instagram questions. What challenges were there in moving to a different area of the country to train?
That is such a good question. So originally I was based in Nottingham, and I would travel to Manchester to do training at Future Shock when I first started. And then I'd still be in Nottingham, but I'd go to Stoke for New Wave West Midlands. And then when I started going to PPW, I was still in Nottingham for a while, and then I moved over to Sheffield. And making that move was actually quite intimidating. My dad was not happy with the decision. He was very concerned about me making this decision. But now that I've done it, and now that he sees that, like, hey, this is like working out, he's not as mad as like he used to be. He used to not be very happy, but now he's like, I can see why you've done it because you train so much. Like, you wouldn't want to be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So yeah, it's taken him a while to understand it, but now that he's sort of sat down and we had a long conversation before I did it, and then when I did move, he was like, okay, I can kind of see that you're getting more comfortable, and it's maybe time that you were doing other things anyway. So yeah.
Definitely. So it's funny that you say you're based in Sheffield because I'm actually just about 20 minutes away from you in Barnsley, so quite close
Ah,
proximity. So next lot of questions is from Drew Ashlin, very good friend of the channel. Drew asks, what or who inspired the character of Skylar, and how do you hope to further develop your character?
so Skylar is me, basically turned up to about an 11. Skylar has a lot more confidence than I do. uh, yeah, I think it's just starting to find my feet and my confidence. I'm now at a point where I feel a lot more confident in the ring, and I think you can kind of notice that. Every time, like, I'm posting training clips, I feel more confident, and I look a lot more confident than what I did 2 or 3 years ago. I'm looking back at some of that footage, like, should I delete it? And everyone's like, don't delete it, don't delete it. Look back on it. I just watch the journey progress. But yeah, it's a lot of confidence because that's one thing that I don't have. But yet, when I put the jacket on and the makeup's on, and the adrenaline's going at 600 miles an hour, you kind of come out the curtain and you're like, right, okay, showtime. And it's a lot of trying to prove people wrong, the doubters wrong, which again is me. I will prove the doubters wrong, but Skylar's a bit more loud about it, which you will see in something coming very, very soon. Maybe I'm giving away something here that I shouldn't be, but yeah, you will see something coming this way soon, and yeah, you'll start to see that I'm getting a bit more louder about trying to prove people wrong, and that's one of my biggest things that I'm trying to take from not only me but from Skylar to try and push that. And yeah, it's just confidence. Confidence is another thing because I really, really, really struggle with it. But in terms of Skylar, when you see Skylar, you wouldn't think that I struggle with it at all. It's really crazy thinking about like the parallels because Skylar is so much more confident and so much more like, I don't know how to describe it. So much more like, I can't describe it, but like, yeah, there's just confidence there compared to where I am here. It's like there's a lot of difference, but there's something about when that bell rings, you've got no choice. So like, you've got to be confident. So yeah.
Definitely. So, Drew's other question, I think you touched on this earlier, to be honest. What are the challenges that you had to face in your career so far, and how did you overcome them?
Overcoming them, I haven't necessarily. It's still something that I struggle with. It's very, very difficult because no matter, yeah, this is, well, it's actually hard to talk about. Oh, okay. Bear with.
Yeah, take as long as you need, Sky. If it gets a bit too much, just let me know and we can move on to the next question.
Bear with. Yeah, it's difficult with body image issues and like comparing yourself to others and things like that because it does really knock your confidence, especially the body image side of things. No matter what I do, I don't feel like I'm good enough as well. That's the other thing that constantly weighs me down. I apologize constantly, even though 99.9% of the time I've got no reason to apologize, and I get told off for apologizing quite a lot. But it's difficult, and I do struggle with it. I struggle with it quite a lot, but learning to overcome it is difficult as well. But one of these days, maybe I will get there slowly, hopefully, maybe. That is probably not the best answer to this question. I do apologize.
Absolutely no problem. So obviously, thank you, Steve and Drew, for their questions. Last two questions before we go into the deep side of things, onto the mental health side. Liam from Magical Wrestling asks, how much fun was it recording with Heel Turn Media?
Oh, so much fun. So much fun. Doing that promo. I had an idea for a promo and I wanted to do it. And I was like, I don't really want to do it myself. I have a lot of problems with this, also come from body image and self-confidence and self-doubt, all of these things. I have a lot of problem with doing face-to-camera things, which is kind of funny because I'm doing this and I've got more things coming out in the pipeline, which is me face-to-camera. So I'm starting to learn how to get better at it, but I wanted to get my face to camera, and obviously that's a big thing about wrestling, being able to do promos and things like that. And obviously we've got Nathan Black. Nathan Black does promos, Liam does promos, Leon does promos, Kid Like Us does promos. I'm pretty sure like 99% of people do promos. But there was a part of me that was like, I don't know if I can. And I don't know if anyone else notices it in the promo, but I notice it. I say in the promo where I'm talking about, doubt, proving people wrong. And then I say, you're not good enough, but I do it in this accent that I've just done here. And I'm like, whose accent is this? I never speak in this way, ever. And you hear me say it in the promo, and I've watched that promo back so many times, and I'm like, why do I say it like that? And I'm sure that Michael got me to refilm this about 4 or 5 times. And every single time I go, you're not good enough with this accent. Where's it come from? Whose accent is this? It's not mine. I don't know whose accent this is. So in the end, we ended up just using one of them. But filming with Michael's great. He has a lot of confidence in you and your abilities. And when I wasn't sure about something, we'd go over it again, and there's times where I was not sure on delivery of certain things, and he'd advise, he'd help, and we come together with that promo. And hopefully, well, I do work with Michael quite a lot at the moment, but I'm hoping that very, very soon we might be filming something else. So yeah, working with Michael is great. Highly recommend working with Michael. Yeah, just my accent kills me off, and that you're not good enough. It's like, whose accent is this? You've never said this that way in your entire life, and yet suddenly I don't know whether it's like a Newcastle accent that I picked up from Michael and David, who was doing photography with me at the time, that was there. So I don't know whether it's like a Newcastle thing that I picked up, and I was like, that's it. This is the only way we know how to say it now. And like, even in conversation now, it'll sometimes come out and I'm like, oh, I give up. I actually give up. Like, it just comes out now. So I'm never going to be able to say that line normal ever again.
Fantastic. So Liam's final question is, talk to us more about your debut match with Alfie.
Match with Alfie. Well, I remember we've had so many good memories. We trained hard for that. We worked hard. We did a lot of training together. We still do. It's by far one of my favorite memories. And yeah, I'm just forever grateful for Alfie for guiding me through that and for helping me, making me get better. Like, just that day is a very memorable day because me and Alfie were in that match, and obviously we had referee Katie, and that match really does mean a lot to me for so many different reasons. And I'm not going to go into a lot of reasons, but yeah, there's so many different reasons as to why that match means so much to me. The fact that like we've trained together so much, and then we got in the ring and we had the match. It was, yeah, I can't even begin to describe how much it meant to me to have Alfie in the ring and Katie, being there being a guiding ear and like helping, and yeah, just forever grateful for them both.
Absolutely. So thank you, Liam, for your questions. But my final question before we go into the mental health side of things, obviously I mentioned earlier that you did a couple of refereeing training sessions with Steve Grimshaw. What's his whiteboard like?
So I've not really seen his whiteboard, but from I can imagine, because I'm pretty sure I remember James Greenwood coming out with a whiteboard in one of the training sessions. So I can imagine that like it's probably similar to that, and yeah, it'd be very very interesting to see. So hopefully one day I can tell you all about it. But yeah, for right now I'm not sure.
Definitely. So we had Steve Grimshaw on the channel a couple of months back. He's actually the most viewed video on the channel. I think is at 425, something like that. But yeah, very good friend of the channel. Before we go into the mental health side of things, actually, Liam has reminded me that we actually did a watch along for your match against Alpha with FK, and I've got to say, it was one of the most perfectly booked matches I've ever seen on the UK scene. I've got to say,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
it was just absolutely fantastic. So I really do believe that you, Alfie, and Katie should all be really, really proud of yourselves. You did an absolutely fantastic job.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So this is where we go into the mental health side of things, guys. This is where we're going to get a bit deeper, a bit darker. Obviously, Sky, if at any point you start to feel upset or anything like that, or overwhelmed, please let me know. If you want to cut the stream early, it's entirely up to you. I don't mind. If it makes you uncomfortable, please let me know. Any questions you want to skip over, just let me know. At the end of the day, this is meant to help people. If it's going to upset you, I'd rather it didn't. Okay, so quick transition, guys, and we're back in 5 seconds. So, Sky, you briefly mentioned a bit earlier on, but can you share with us a bit about when you first started experiencing your struggles?
So in terms of outside of wrestling as a whole, or like in terms of wrestling?
It's entirely up to you. If you want to do one for both, or just want to stick with one, it's up to you.
I think I first started struggling, well, noticing that I was struggling was back in 2018. That was when I first noticed that there was definitely some struggles going on.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain those at all, or is that something that is a bit too much for you?
I definitely noticed anxiety and depression at that point. Those were the first two that I noticed, and then later on there was a third one, but I'm probably sure we'll talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, those were the first two, and that was quite difficult. Yeah, that was quite difficult.
Okay. So obviously, as we know, the professional wrestling industry is quite a demanding sport. How has that impacted your mental health at all?
It's impacted it in both a good way and a bad way, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's impacted it in a good way because like you make friends and the people that you surround yourself with are great, all things like that. The positive, when it's positive, it's really positive, but when it's negative and when like you're being hard on yourself and you feel like you're not doing good enough, and I said it better this time. When you feel like you're not doing good enough, and you're comparing yourself all of the time, you do start to get down into a bit of like a rut, and it's sometimes hard to get out of that. It is.
Definitely. So You mentioned one of these earlier, but is there any other specific challenges related to mental health that you face within the wrestling industry? For example, performance anxiety, pressure, travel, body imagery, and social media scrutiny. Obviously, you mentioned the body imagery earlier. Has any of the others cropped up at all?
Travel a little bit. When I was traveling to Manchester and back quite a lot, and trains would be cancelled, and then you'd be on cram trains, and yeah. So travel used to be, it's not so much of an issue now, but travel used to be. Pressure, again, pressure from myself more than anyone else, because I tend to put way too much pressure on myself. And social media is something that I do struggle with at times, because yeah, social media can be a fantastic place, and it can also be a not so fantastic place. Definitely more positive than negative on social media, but the negative is really bad, like really, really bad. There's some comments that I've been getting recently, and I'm like, oh, this is challenging. But it's difficult, but it's something that you kind of, over time, you try and get better at dealing with it.
Definitely. So obviously, when you're getting these negative comments, how do you sort of like overcome the thoughts that they put into your head? Do you have like a sort of like a support system? Do you get in touch with friends, family, something like that?
I do tend to speak to people if the notifications come up, which they do sometimes. I've tried to like mute a few words, which does help, but there's only so much that you can do on social media. If people are going to be, I don't know if I can swear, I can't remember, but people are going to
Yeah.
be idiots. People can be idiots, you know. And I try and, if I see the notification, I try and delete it as quick as I can, because otherwise I'll just keep looking at it and it will ruin my mind. However, I will say that like it is hard sometimes, because I've got a real bad habit of like being on social media at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you'll get notifications come through on your phone and you're looking at it, and then you're staring at the message, the notifications, and you're like, maybe what they're saying is right. Maybe what they're saying is true, and then you start getting into a bad spiral with it. But I normally send somebody a message, and I'm usually like, "Hey, this has happened," or like when I wake up, I'll find someone and I'll be like, "Hey, this is what happened last night," you know, and we'll talk it out, and they'll help kind of be like, "Hey," and we'll try and sort of like, I guess the best way to describe it is trying to decompress a little bit and just to be like, it's okay. And I've been blocking accounts as well, because that helps. Blocking, deleting notifications for comments if I need to, because sometimes it can get a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, it's a struggle at times. But yeah, there is more positive than negative in terms of different things. But yeah.
Definitely. I think it says a lot that when I announced you to be coming on the podcast, I think the video reached, I think it was about 150 views in like 15 minutes, something like that. When usually uh, you're talking probably 100 views in about an hour, usually. So I think a lot of people have been wanting you to come on the podcast, Sky. So
Mhm.
yeah, like I say, I really do appreciate you coming on. Um, you mentioned obviously having particularly overwhelming sports. Has there been particular moments or periods in your career so far where your mental health has felt particularly overwhelming, and what do those feel like?
There's been a few particular moments. I'm not going to go into specific time frames and things, but there's been like a few moments where it's been like really, really low, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? And it's hard sometimes, because you don't want to reach out because you feel like you're being a burden,
Mhm.
and that's also something that I battle with, because knowing, like, suffering in silence is not ideal. But reaching out to people is definitely something that I found that helps. Music, again, trying to find something that helps you release whatever emotion it is that you are feeling, whether it's sadness, anger, anxiousness. There's plenty other emotions. I'm just very much in a brain fog. But trying to find something to kind of cope with it. I can't think of the right word, but how to bear with. My brain's just suddenly decided to go on me. To release the feelings, I guess. That's probably not the best way of wording it, but to lessen the feelings. Talking to people, yeah, I highly recommend that as well. Like, it's difficult when you feel like you're alone and there's no one that you can talk to, but I promise that there is always at least one person, probably more, but there's at least one person that is always willing to listen and to hear you out.
Fantastic advice. So you mentioned it earlier, briefly. Just wondering if you can expand on this. What coping mechanisms have you found most effective when managing your mental health?
So, coping mechanisms. Again, it's very similar to the same to the last question in terms of like talking to people, voice noting people, um, just making sure that there's a line of communication. If you can't do that, maybe writing things down, drawing things out. Um, any creative outlet that you've got to kind of release and to help you with the emotions. Um, but yeah, I definitely recommend talking to someone, finding someone that you trust, someone that will listen to you. And if you don't think that there is someone, I will listen. Like, there is always someone that will listen. I promise. I absolutely promise.
Definitely. So what kind of support system do you rely on both within and outside of wrestling?
My nan is a great person who I speak to. Alfie, who I speak to on a regular basis. Um, there is a couple of other people, my brother, every now and then. um, and then, like, in terms of support network, I guess, in terms of like things that I use, is just a case of like, again, music and just kind of decompressing. If I need to find someone to talk to, I know that I can go to Alfie and I know that I can go to my nan. And there's a couple of other people that I can go to, but those are like the two people that I go to.
Definitely. So, if there's someone that's watching, if they're a wrestler or just someone that's come across the stream at random, if they are struggling with their mental health in silence, what advice would you give to them?
Please don't suffer in silence. Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and it's something that I've had to learn the harder way than I would have liked to admit. But yeah, I definitely recommend reaching out to someone. Someone will listen, I promise. Like, yeah, reaching out to someone, even a therapist, maybe. Just talking definitely helps. Arranging to go and meet someone to go and talk if you can, anything that makes you feel better should help. So, like, music, if music is your thing, listen to music. If reading is your thing, that helps calm you down. And that, like, if you're really struggling, like, please just reach out to someone. I promise someone will listen.
Definitely, fantastic advice for anyone that is watching. How do you believe that the professional wrestling industry as a whole can better support its performers' mental well-being?
That is a loaded question. Um, I don't know. I'm still quite new to to like this, so like I don't know. No, I'm not sure on that one.
No worries.
Mm.
So obviously, mentioned this earlier, but what role has wrestling played in your overall mental health journey? Has it been a source of strength? Has it been a challenge? Has it been a bit of both?
Definitely a bit of both. Definitely a bit of both. I would say more positive than negative, but there has definitely been a bit of like, as I've previously mentioned, in terms of like comparing myself, being extra hard on myself, all kind of small things like that that add up. But there is definitely a lot more positive than negative. The support is incredible. Like even the comments that have been popping up through here, like it really does mean a lot. And every time that like I get a supportive comment or a message or anything like that, it truly does mean the world. So yeah, I don't want people to think that like the negative, I focus too much on the negative. I don't. The positive obviously means a lot more. But yeah, the negatives sometimes can get a little bit too ingrained into your brain. But it's a case of learning how to rewire that, but it's very, very difficult.
Definitely. So I was just about to wind down, Sky. I would like you to give me your top 5
Mhm.
um, dream opponents that you would like to face on the UK wrestling scene.
Okay. Wow. This is There are so many people. I'm not gonna do them in any number order, so please don't come at me, please. I'd love to do me versus Rio, me versus Lana. I definitely want to do that. Who else do I want? I definitely want to do. Obviously, I've already said like a few people earlier, so I'm not going to mention them again. But we already know that I mentioned Lou and Drew. Alfie again. I'd love that again. And I think I mentioned somebody else as well. But so yeah, Lana, Rio. I'd love to fight. Oh, who else? There's so many names. I'm like, all of the names are firing at me at 100 miles an hour. Um, mhm, mhm. Bear with. Let me gather my thoughts. Hmm. Tony Wright. I'd really like to fight Tony Wright. Who else? Gentleman Jim Maguire. I reckon I would have an absolute laugh at that. And who else would I really like to fight? Molly Spartan. I think. Yeah, I think those are my 5. So that's Rio, Lana, and then it was, oh my gosh, my brain has completely gone on me. It was Gentleman Jim Maguire, it was Tony Wright, and it was Molly Spartan. Yes, those were the 5.
Hopefully, those guys are watching this and they'll be able to get in touch and we'll be able to sort that out. The first person that came to my head when I asked that question was Ivy Rivers. She was absolutely fantastic at UKW. Also, Red Broco, if you've heard of
Okay.
Ruben Broco. Sorry, not Red. That's a different wrestler. Another wrestler I think would be amazing to be to have a match with yourself is the current UKW Women's Champion Nisa.
All right. Okay.
Good match. So yeah, second to last question, Sky. What are your aspirations and goals within professional wrestling for the future?
Oh, um, another loaded question, but loaded in a positive way. um, Definitely want to wrestle more. Definitely like and just start popping up in places that people wouldn't expect me to. I think that's like one of my goals, to pop up somewhere where like no one would expect me. That's definitely a goal. I've got a few names of like places and promotions, but I'm not gonna say anything yet on that. I'm gonna keep working hard and see where I end up. But yeah, there's definitely a few names. I'd love to wrestle all up and down this country. There's so many people that I want to fight. the list is so long. I've got a bucket list that's as long as, I don't know. It's too long. So yeah, there's definitely people that I'd love to fight. Another person who I'd love to fight, which is a bit of a wild card, but I've just thought of it, is Isaac North. Wild card, but I'd love that. I'm a big believer in like the taller they are, like, and the bigger they are, bring it on. Bring it on. What I want.
I'd love to see you go up against Mustafa Khan.
Okay.
6'3" is the king of the knockouts. Is just a massive dude, and I think that you two would have an absolute banger of a match.
Okay, I'll have to look around.
Definitely. So, last question, Sky, and then we'll finish off. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
I've been preparing for this question. This is actually quite difficult for me. I'm gonna put, right, bear in mind that I haven't watched a lot of like wrestling before probably 2010. I probably haven't watched anything before that. So like bear in mind that this is probably going to be very recent wrestlers. So my Mount Rushmore is going to include R-Truth, which, yeah, love R-Truth. It's going to include Moxley. I was going to do the Shield, but I prefer Mox to Dean, which that's maybe controversial. Who else can I put on there? This is going to go one or two ways. CM Punk. I think CM Punk's quite great, and the things that he's done. Yeah. How many's on a Mount Rushmore? Is it 4 or 5? Four. Okay. That's made my job a lot easier. Again, obviously this is all very biased, but I will say Eddie Kingston because he's what kind of inspired me to keep going. And yeah, I will say Eddie Kingston. Obviously, this is all very recent and very biased, but it's my Mount Rushmore. Fight me if you don't like it.
Fantastic. So yeah, guys, that is the end of this episode of the Unseen Battles. I'm absolutely honoured to have been joined by Skylar today. Sky, I'll let you finish off the episode today. If there's anything you'd like to say, anything you want to plug, obviously your social is in the top left-hand corner at Skylar Rose PW. If you want to plug anything or want to say anything to finish us off, go for it.
I just want to say that I'm forever grateful for everyone who's supported me on my journey. And yeah, just for everyone who's watching this or who watches the replay, like, I'm forever grateful for you all. You can follow me at Skylar Rose PW. I think that's right. Up here somewhere there's a QR code. But yeah, apart from that, I don't have anything else to plug at the moment, but there might be something coming soon. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. So yeah, make sure you go check out Skylar Rose, guys. Look after each other. Make sure that you take care. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next episode. See you later.